Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the United States Constitution, that document that brings together and creates the United States of America's government, not the country itself, but the actual government. So we left off last time with Daniel Shays and his rebellion against the government of Massachusetts. Farmers are ticked off, unfair taxes, debt. So they start kind of a rebellion, a riot against the government. And the state of Massachusetts is asking around, going, "Hey, we need help. We can't handle this." And the U.S. government needs permission from other states to use their armies. The other states don't even give permission. And so what happens is they eventually have to go to private militias to actually put down the rebellion. And the realization comes up that, look, this weak government that allows the states to kind of do their own thing. I mean, we're borderline going to be anarchy if we just keep letting this go. So the founders of the country said, okay, well, we need a new constitutional convention to come together, and we need to update or maybe just scrap the Articles of Confederation and get a better form of government. So that better form of government was known as the United States Constitution. The Constitution is broken down into primary sections called articles, of which there are 7, and 27 changes that are made to the actual text of the document. And that is, those are called amendments. Okay. So you have Article 1 about the legislative branch, Article 2 is about the executive branch, Article 3 is about the judicial branch, Article 4 is about the states and how they can interact. Article 5 talks about changing the Constitution, creating amendments. Article 6 says that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, which it is. And Article 7 is actually the passage of the Constitution to create the government. Now, there are 27 amendments, and amendments number 1 through 10 collectively are known as the Bill of Rights. And it's the things that protect the citizens of the country from the actual government. So let's take a look at a couple of themes that actually take place within the Constitution of the United States. Theme number 1 is the idea of popular sovereignty. Popular in government means people. Sovereignty, of course, having absolute power within your own borders. So popular sovereignty is just that the people have absolute power. People have ultimate authority. They elect their own governments. They choose who the national, state, and local government representatives actually will be. This is to make sure that a dictator doesn't hold any kind of authority or power. This is all about the people. The people are going to govern. Ultimately, the people have power. And they do that through electing representatives, which we'll see here in a little bit. Issue number 2, limited government. We're going to limit the scope of the power of the government to not hurt the people or for the leader not to get too powerful. This is to guard against a monarch back in the day and a dictator now. And the government actually limits the power to a chief executive. In the Constitution, it says what that chief executive can do, what the president can actually do. And they are limited to that only. And it actually says how leaders, through a process called impeachment, can actually be removed. And then finally, it says, hey, look, here's the Bill of Rights. These are protections for citizens against the government. Now, there have been 4 presidents that have been impacted by the process of removal, and that is Andrew Johnson, Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton, and Donald Trump. Um, Johnson, Clinton, and Trump have all been impeached. They haven't been officially removed from office because impeachment requires you to get impeached and then be found guilty. Nixon was going to be removed from government, but he quit before he could go. The closest to being officially impeached and removed was Andrew Johnson. He missed removal by 1 vote. But limited government is all about making sure power does not ultimately lie just with the government, that the people are protected. Next one is federalism. As we saw from our last unit, federalism is the idea that power is divided between a national and a state government. That those powers can be also shared, like both governments can tax, both governments have court systems, but ultimately, like if the national government does pass some laws, things like marijuana laws and that kind of thing, they pretty much do have ultimate say. But like when if it says in the Constitution that a state holds the election, remember, there's no national election for president. It's essentially 50 states all holding the same election on the same day. And then, if the Constitution says the states can do that, the national government can't just take it over. And they'd have to change the actual Constitution, which is very, very, very difficult. Okay. The next theme, consent of the governed. This is the permission of the people to actually run stuff. And of course, that consent develops into a republic where we vote on representatives to actually govern for us, but we can actually remove those representatives too. And this is all about voting. We give consent to people through the process of free and fair elections. Elections happen all over the world, but they do not really count within a democracy unless they are free, they are fair, and they are actually regularly scheduled, consistent. So the power, the ability for us to have power is through the process of using free and fair elections and voting, using a ballot, usually a piece of paper or a computer generated ballot, and we cast that vote. That is that is the permission. Okay, so when somebody says, well, how does this person have the authority to actually run the government? We say, well, we elected them, so that gives them the authority. And of course, they also have legitimacy because we put them there. So the consent of the governed, the permission for you to actually rule, is done through the process of elections. Separation of powers. Not one group in government holds too much power. Instead, we take and we do what Charles Montesquieu, the political philosopher, said, and we say, we have one branch of government that makes the law, that is legislative. We have one branch of government that carries out the law, that is executive. We have one branch of government that interprets the law, that is judicial. And then we put them in different places and give them equal power. The White House for the president, Capitol Hill for Congress, and the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court of the United States. Separate these powers, and no one person can actually do all of those things at the same time. It makes government weaker in their ability to oppress people. Okay. Now, those governments are broken down into three branches. They also have official titles. So the legislative branch is explained in Article 1 of the Constitution. It is called Congress, and Congress is made up of two houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Their number one job is to make laws. We elect representatives to both of those chambers. Those representatives are shown here. Yes, you need to know them. The representatives for the United States Senate, there are two per state, are Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla. Both of them represent the entire state of California. In the House of Representatives, the more population you have, the more seats in Congress you have. So there are 52 seats for California in the United States House of Representatives. Your representative is in California District 2. That is right here. That represents from the Golden Gate up to the Oregon border. And that is Jared Huffman. These people are the legislative branch officers for the state of California. The executive branch is explained in Article 2. It is the President of the United States, and he is the chief executive, meaning he is the chief of enforcing the laws that Congress makes. Presidents are not to get a choice about whether or not to enforce it. Their job is to enforce the law made by Congress, period. The current president of the United States is Donald Trump. He is elected by the people of the United States through the electoral process in the Electoral College in a free and fair election. Okay, so he is the chief executive, he is the president. Judicial branch is explained in Article 3, and the judicial branch is about the Supreme Court and any other national federal courts. Their job is straight up to interpret the law. Remember, in the Supreme Court, there is no jury. It is only the 9 justices deciding what the law is. They also have something called judicial review, and that's asking if a law follows the Constitution or not. Does an action follow the Constitution or not? If it does not, it should be overturned by the Supreme Court. Those Supreme Court justices are here. And yes, you need to know who they are. They will be a question about knowing some judges on the mastery check. They are Amy Coney Barrett, Samuel Alito, um, um, Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown, Elena Kagan, John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Sonia Sotomayor, and Brett Kavanaugh. Okay. Those are the justices on the United States Supreme Court. To get something passed in the Supreme Court, you need to have a majority. That is 5 votes out of 9 to get something overturned with or approved within the Supreme Court. They serve for life, so they are not held accountable to any political party at all. And they are not supposed to be. You don't want your judges elected because then they're accountable to like voters in politics and not accountable to the Constitution, the law. And what they do is they help with checks and balances, which is our next issue. And checks and balances is the ability for every branch of government there, the separate powers, to check each other, to be able to do certain things to stop one branch from getting too powerful, making laws, vetoing laws, which is getting rid of them, proving them unconstitutional. Okay. And finally, the last one is rule of law. This is the idea that no one is above the law, that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and that everyone in government is held accountable to the law. It doesn't matter if you're a president, it doesn't matter if you're a member of Congress, it doesn't matter if you're the Supreme Court. Ultimately, you are held accountable to the supreme law of the land, and that is and always will be the Constitution of the United States.